Good evening, everybody. I hope that you are good and very welcome to the first in a three-part series of Make Your Own Christmas Cake with myself. Hi guys. We have a few people jumping on here, which is brilliant. Hello. You might do me a wee favour, if at all possible, if you could let me know you can hear me okay. I always have this fear that I'm just going to be talking to myself and you can't hear me properly. So yeah, if you can give me a little thumbs up or a little heart or a little something, that would be amazing. With comments coming in, this is where I start to squint now. Sandy's home base. Hey, how are you? The busy mammy. Thank you so much. It's yes, good. You can hear me okay. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much for letting me know. I can relax about that now. Don't need to be worrying about chatting to myself. So yeah, we have a few more people joining in, so we'll just give it another minute or so before we kick off. But just a little intro. So this is Perfect Sound, that's what we like to hear. And we are a three-part series with Jem, so we're going to be making a Christmas cake. So again, this was an idea that I came up with during the summer. I was kind of thinking of different ideas, and this was one that came to mind because it's a really popular question I always get asked from people, is in like, how do you make a Christmas cake, or how do you ice a Christmas cake, or how do you decorate a Christmas cake? So why I had that idea, I was like, do you know what? This could be a nice little series to run again, just to kind of show people, I suppose, how simple it really is to make a cake and take that fear away of making a Christmas cake. So this series is going to be broken up into 3 different stages. So today's the easy one. I can relax today. We're going to be soaking the fruit today. So we're going to be talking about the different types of fruit and soaking it and the reasons for doing that and how far ahead you should be doing this. And then once we get that done, as I said, that's the relatively easy part. We're then going to be going on to making some decorations. It's a kind of a funny one with the old Christmas cake because you can do different steps. So you can start making the decorations way ahead of time, which is always really good. So again, what we're going to be doing today for the first one again is soaking the fruit, getting that organised, and then organising a few little edible decorations that are going to be going on top of the cake. That's series 1. For the second series, we're going to be baking the cake, lining the tin first, showing you what to do there, and making the cake, getting it into the oven, and baking it down. So again, that's a class or a series live dedicated solely just to how to make the cake. So again, that's quite important. And then the final episode, the third one that we have, will be decorating the cake. So that'll be putting on the marzipan, rolling on the icing, and then taking the decorations that we're going to be making in this class and just finishing off the cake again. So that's just a little insight to what we have planned over the next couple of weeks. So if you are thinking about making a cake, this would be the perfect chance to bake along with me. If you have never baked a cake before, even better again. Sometimes it's better to kind of go in blind in these situations and you can kind of learn as you go. So if you haven't baked a cake before, again, don't worry if you don't have any of the ingredients. Stefano, how are you? If you don't have any of the ingredients at the moment, these will all be saved down on the Gem page, so you can jump back in and watch back on these videos whenever you do have your ingredients ready. And again, we'll be putting out the date for the second series a few days beforehand, just to give you time to pick up all the ingredients and stuff. So that's that. That's my little introduction. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am Shane Smith. I am pastry chef. I'm brand ambassador for Gem. And it has been my pleasure all year round to create tons of gorgeous recipes. What a beautiful way to wrap the year up with this cake. I love the smell of fruit soaking. It's when the house starts to smell like Christmas. I know, do you know what? I'm not going to lie to you, Paula, I had Halloween decorations. I'm in my cookery school at the moment. I had Halloween decorations everywhere earlier. I had to take them down. I'm like, I cannot talk about Christmas with all of this behind me. We're even a little bit early to be talking about it when we haven't got over Halloween, but we're nearly there. But again, better to get organised and get all of this kind of stuff done. But I couldn't agree with you more. The smell of the fruit soaking is again, it's one of my childhood memories, and it's a really, it's a beautiful smell. So what I love to do is, for anyone who's tuning in at the moment, I love to know where you're tuning in from. So if you could let me know where you're tuning in from, I would love to know. Again, what happens with these lives, unfortunately, is all of the questions that people ask throughout the live, if you have any, they all disappear when the live ends and then I post it. So if you have asked any questions or whatever, if you're watching this back again, there may not be questions underneath it. So please make sure that you can ask questions after I post this live as well. And we'll come back and answer any questions that you have in relation to anything that we're going to be making today as well. We have Belfast, amazing. Jane, thank you for tuning in. My family was only up there, was it the weekend before last? They had an absolutely brilliant weekend. We have Dublin on the cards, amazing. Are we going to get all tropical, are we? The Curragh of Kildare, what a beautiful spot as well. Kilkenny, amazing. The festival on this coming weekend. Well, sure, you can't beat Cavan, to be honest with you. I know now I might be a little bit biased there. So we have a lovely mix. We're keeping it country at the moment. We haven't got anyone further afield as yet. But if you are tuning in and you're further afield, do let me know where you're tuning in from. Right, that's all my chatting done. I have my cup of tea here ready, so I'm going to keep an eye on your comments. So guys, anything that I'm doing here this evening, please do ask me as many questions as you want. I'm here just putting my mincemeat in jars, and the smell of brandy fruit and lemon is yummy. Watching from Mayo. Go on, Mayo. Absolutely, I used to live in Mayo. It's gorgeous county. You're nice and organised, may I say as well, Maria. Fair play to you, Marion. That's amazing. So what I'm going to start on here is the fruit. So to make your life even easier, if that was at all possible, what we have here, this is the Gem Christmas Cake Mix. So this literally has everything ready for you, as in fruit-wise. This isn't a stir and bake setup here where it has your flour and all in there. That's not the case. But this is your mix of fruits here. It even has a cute little recipe on the back. The one that I'll be making will be slightly different to this, so you can do either or. You can choose to follow the recipe that's on the back of this, or you can make the recipe that I'll be making in the next class. Either or, so you have plenty of options. But what I absolutely love is, even from a price point of view, you don't have to go out and buy like a tub of mixed peel or glacé cherries and just use some of them in your cake. And then, do you know what? Half the time I open the press and I always have little bits of dried mixed peel or something left over from the year before. Now, if you're making mince pie filling or stuff like that, fair enough. But if you're not, you only just want to make one cake, this is absolutely amazing, because again, you just need to open it and the fruit is ready to go. So again, that is one to keep an eye out for. There's three different kind of mixes for this time of year. So there's a Christmas pudding mix. There is a chocolate mix as well, one with cocoa powder in there as well, and this one here is the Christmas cake mix. So again, it's the one with the little red branding on the sides. So that's all ready to rock and roll. I should have a little knife here. I'm just going to open this up. I have my festive, I dug out the festive bowl today. I was like, if we're going to go with Christmas, we might as well go with a red bowl. I'm simply just going to be emptying all of that in to my bowl here. It looks like a lot, but trust me, Christmas cake is one of those things where it doesn't really rise too much in the oven. So I even question every year myself, whenever I make my Christmas cake and I put it into the tin, my baking tin just looks completely and utterly full to the brim. I'm like, if this rises, it's going to spill out. That's the one thing about a Christmas cake. It doesn't really rise too much. So you do need to fill your tin up. So again, when you look at this and be like, that's quite a lot of fruit. Trust me, it actually is the perfect amount. Again, if you're making an 8-inch or a 9-inch cake. Anyways, so that is the fruit ready. We have beautiful cherries in there, sultanas, raisins, mixed peel. You have your glacé cherries and all. That's all ready to rock and roll. So the mix is, as I said, just leaving your life so much easier. To this now is where we're going to add a little bit of flavour, a little bit of extra flavour. So I always love, I think somebody might have mentioned that in the comments just when we logged on as well, is using lemon. Lemon is really lovely in a Christmas cake or any sort of a fruit cake. And it's a subtle flavour. You don't pick up on it straight away, but it does add a lovely flavour to your cake. So I'm going to be adding in the zest. Again, this is a really handy little microplane. And please save this. Sonia, of course, the guys in Gem will have this series saved down. So I was just saying earlier on, if you don't have everything ready this evening, you can tune back in tomorrow, next week, whatever, and catch up then. But yeah, the 3 episodes will be saved down, so you can catch up that way as well, okay? So first up, I'm going to be adding in my lemon zest. And I'm going to be adding in the juice as well, okay? So the whole point of soaking the fruit, so you have to realise, I suppose, this dried fruit is dried. so it needs to be rehydrated. So by adding in alcohol, now again, if you don't drink, you don't need to put alcohol into your fruitcake. You can add in tea, which is amazing, which I've done for a few years actually, is depending on what tea you like. If you like a floral tea, like an Earl Grey or a jasmine tea, you can actually make that, soak your tea bags in there and get a really, really strong concentrated tea, and then you can just replace that. So you're getting a gorgeous Earl Grey flavoured soaked fruit. Brill, I'm going to do mine over midterm. Oh, nice and organised. That's what I like, Sonia. So yeah, again, if you don't, or if you don't take alcohol, or you're not a big fan of alcohol, you can 100% just swap this out for tea. I love a flavoured tea. Now, jasmine tea is quite floral, it's quite fruity. So again, it depends on what you like yourself. You can just keep it classic and just go with a good old cup of Irish black tea, whichever brand is your favourite, and put your tea in that way again. So I always find too that if the liquid is a little bit warm going in, it does actually soak in. It helps kind of rehydrate the dried fruit a little bit faster. But there's no panic on this. We're going to be soaking this fruit today. And I can't just remember the next date off the top of my head, but I believe that it's going to be in the next probably week and a half. We're going to be doing the next class. So again, we've got plenty of time. So we don't need to be too concerned at the moment about doing this and then rushing it and baking it. So we're going to let this soak for a few days, up maybe over a week. So that is the zest gone in. So again, we're just building the flavour in here. So again, zest gone in, and I'm just going to cut my lemon in half, and there are little pits in here, so do be careful. I'm just going to squeeze that in and just catch any of the extra little pits that are gone in there. Again, guys, any questions that you have at all while I get distracted there picking a pith out, this will be like a Christmas cake barn brack kind of style. So someone will be getting a lemon pith. There it is. So that's it out. Again, if you have any questions, please do fire them in. Again, what we're doing here now is just building additional flavour in on top of these lovely fruits. When it comes to soaking your fruit then with alcohol, like a lot of people do, that's kind of a personal preference, okay? So you can choose to soak it with whiskey. I'm going to wash my hands really quickly. You can choose to soak it with whiskey. You can choose to soak it with brandy. Again, it's completely up to you really what your preference is. So I am using, today I have got some sherry. So this is some dried sherry that was in the press, and I was like, do you know what? I'll use this up as well. Loving the idea of using Earl Grey. Yes, Sonia, and I'm the same. I don't drink either, but the Earl Grey is amazing. It's just really nice, and it adds such a gorgeous flavour then as well. So in here I said I am just using sherry here to soak the fruits, and again that is kind of more, I wouldn't say more of a traditional, but it's definitely one that people would use like whiskey or brandy. So again, you don't really taste this in your cake. Well, you don't really taste it at all. You're going to be soaking your cake afterwards as well. But what I would say to you is the fruit is going to be rehydrated with whatever flavoured liquid you put in. Now, I put in lemon zest. You can 100% put in orange zest as well, and a little bit of orange juice in there too, and that works really, really well. So again, just going to stir all of this through. And then my secret ingredient, and it's not a secret ingredient, everyone has it at home, but I personally love it, is ground clove. You can put in mixed spice, and there is going to be mixed spice and other spices that's going to be going into the cake mix when we're going to be baking it. But I love just giving it that little kickstart of additional clove. I think it's the memories of being in my nana's house. We used to get the little, I think they were bullseye sweets. They had that lovely clove drops. Maybe I can't remember the name, but they were so delicious. So I'm actually putting in a nice little, probably teaspoon of clove there. And again, that gets a head start on all the other spices, because we're just going to allow this to mingle and soak in. So there is a good pool then of liquid on the bottom of the bowl there, as you can see. And that's what we want to. We want to soak the fruit to rehydrate them. So what I would say to you ideally is if you've got like a flatter, even a baked dish, you can put that fruit into it so it's a thinner amount of layer of fruit, and it will soak up the liquid that little bit. But again, what I generally do now is cover this and leave it in a room, a dark kind of a cool room. If you've got like a back room, you don't really want to leave this summer too warm. Not that it will spoil, but again, any of these kind of fruits, what I like to do, again, where you're storing, if you're making mince pie and that, you can just leave it in a cool room. Could you put cinnamon stick in it at this stage? And do you have to feed your cake? So there's 2 questions coming in. Sonia, you are first. I would say feeding the cake it depends how far in advance that you've made it. So you can make a cake in June and you can feed it once a week with a spoon of either, we talked about Earl Grey tea there, or you can use alcohol. And the more you feed it, obviously, the more it soaks into the cake, which will give you a much heavier, rich cake. But generally speaking, if you soak your fruit well enough in advance, it does add enough moisture to the cake. So if you don't soak it as often, you can get away with it, you know what I mean? But what the whole point, I suppose, of soaking and feeding is just to keep adding more and more moisture and more flavour to the cake. So I would always do it. If I even have baked my cake next week, probably once a week, if I got a tablespoon of something and just spooned it over it and put the lid back on and leave it, you know. So you can't, on your cooked cake, you can do that. And just in relation to the cinnamon stick, Paula, what I would say is you don't get the flavour payoff from a cinnamon stick, in my opinion, especially the longer ones, unless you heat up a liquid. So if you're putting that cinnamon stick into cream, or if you're putting it into a stock syrup like water and sugar, or even if you're putting it into orange juice, which is another really nice way to soak your fruit cake as well. If you want an alcohol-free version, orange juice is really nice. So I always find that you get better flavour payoff when you heat up the liquid that the cinnamon stick is in, where if you really want that punch of cinnamon, you're better off putting ground cinnamon in here, and then you get a much stronger hit of cinnamon. It all depends on what you like personally, but I would find the cinnamon sticks are a much more subtle flavour, and you do really need to heat up a liquid. By me personally now, by me adding in a cinnamon stick in here now, you're not going to get a huge flavour payoff, because it's going to get lost in the lemon and the alcohol or the tea or whatever you've used in here. So what I would say to you is, if you're looking for a really good hit of a cinnamon, I would probably use ground cinnamon over a cinnamon stick for flavour. Okay, so that is the fruit all done. So I'm just going to leave that now, and I'm going to obviously stir that up every day or two, or there's no, you don't have to be overly careful by minding it, but obviously the more you stir it up, the fruit and the liquid on the bottom, you want to soak the fruit that's on the top that may not be in contact with the liquid. Just going to wash my hands here, and next we are going to put that to one side, and we are going to go on to the no worries at all, Paula. We're just going to jump on to, that's the fruit done, and I said we've added in the alcohol, or you can add in tea, whatever you want. I've added in some lemon zest and some juice and a good pinch of clove, and that will add an absolutely beautiful flavour, base flavour to your mix. So now I'm just going to set that to one side, and I'm going to forget about that for the moment. I'm going to clear off my table. Again, if you have any more questions coming in relation to the fruit, please do let me know. If not, we're going to jump on to the decorating part. And I know, as I said, it's strange to be making decorations when we haven't even made the cake yet, but that is the one good thing in relation to icing and stuff like that. You can actually make your little decorations and stuff ahead of time. So I'm not sure if any of you have seen the little social media post on Jen's story or my stories today, but we've kind of done a little, I created this nice design where it's just like a holly wreath and a simple bow that's sitting on top. So very, very simple. You can go to town, you can make a little miniature village, you can make small snowmen, reindeer, Santa Claus, you can do all that. We're keeping this cake quite simple and quite elegant. I think sometimes the more stuff you throw on it, it can look quite busy. So we've just pared it back, and we're going to be keeping it nice and simple for today. So I have my bits here, so I'm just going to talk through that. So obviously whenever we're rolling out fondant or anything like that, we need icing sugar to stop it from sticking as well. So what I have here is just my tray, and I've just lined that with parchment paper, and I'm going to be putting my cut holly and all of that onto the tray. And again, with fondant, you want to keep this somewhere cool, not like a fridge, but in a cool room, so it'll actually firm up over time, because it'll be a little bit soft at the moment. And then when we go to decorate, the fondant pieces will be a little bit harder, and then you can arrange them a lot easier on the cake. So I'm just going to set this to one side here, and I'm just going to grab and show you some colours and what I have, okay? So these are little I feel like a little Instagrammer now doing it here, but as you can see at the back of my hand here, where I go that way, that's a little holly cutter. This is a larger one. Again, very, very inexpensive. I was only using it the other day, so there's still a little bit of fondant on it. Or you can get really fancy. I bought these online as well. Extremely inexpensive. So these are little fondant cutters. So what you do is you cut your holly leaf out of your fondant, and when it's on the table, you just push down, and there are little veins, holly veins in there. I'm not sure if you can see them or not, but they give a lovely little design to the fondant holly leaf as well. So they're obviously very fancy. You don't need to have them, but they are, again, available online in most kind of cake decorating shops. So today I'm just going to be using the 2 little holly cutters. I'm just going to cut out a selection of holly leaves, and again, put those on the tray, and I'm going to show you how to do the ribbon, and we just forget about them. We put them to one side, and whenever we're decorating our cake, we just come back, take them off. They'll have firmed up at that point, nice and hard, and we can decorate the cake then at that point. So again, it's just been that little bit prepared, and just, yeah, it leaves your life that little bit easier as well. So I'm just going to take a handful of, I have the large bags of icing sugar because I go through that much. So I'm going to be dusting the table here, and again, just flattening that out. Any kind of, you can buy a coloured fondant, or you can colour your own. So I'm going to talk to you about that now. So here I just have some green fondant, okay? So this one, I bought it already coloured, but you 100% can make your own. I have white one over here. This is just a white fondant, and then you can colour it with food colouring gel. So this is important. What I would say to you is, at this point, I personally would say keep away from liquid food colouring. If you're going to be adding liquid food colouring to a white fondant, it's really going to, I'm going to multitask here. I might as well keep going at this. I'm going to knead my fondant to get it nice and smooth. And the more liquid you add to a fondant, the softer it's going to get, and it's going to be really sticky, and it's going to be hard to work with. So, and the colour payoff is never the same as if you use a green gel. This is the green gel that I use. Again, this is the sugar flare, and it's called Holly Green. I have it in a little dish because it goes everywhere, and that's just a really thick paste, and you just need the tiniest amount. I would say even I use the back of a teaspoon, the handle on it. Just dip a little bit of that in and rub it onto the white fondant and knead it, and you get a lovely shade of green if you're looking to make your own shades, okay? 100%. But again, what I would say, keep away from the liquid colouring and try and use a food colouring gel instead. So I have my rolling pin here. Just going to roll this out, and again, if you find that it's sticking at all, just again grab a little bit of your icing sugar, pat down on your fondant. Don't worry if there's trace of white here at this point. You can get a little pastry brush later and brush off the extra bit of icing sugar that's on here, because it doesn't look so nice if you have a fondant decoration on your cake. And don't get it in your nails, absolutely not. You will be washing it out of your nails for years. The amount of times that I've got food colouring on my hands, and it's just, yeah, it's a nightmare. So I always have a little glove handy just for when I'm dealing with food colouring, because it's just not worth it. Anyways, back to this. I have my little cutter here, and very simply just cutting out holly shapes. So again, you can go big, you can go small, and we're just going to be arranging these, obviously overlapping these as a wreath on the cake. So that's some of the big. Now we'll go with some of the small. What I like to do at this point, do I have a little knife here? No, I'll grab one here. I like to take the back of the knife here, obviously not your serrated or your sharp edge. You're taking the back, so you can use a table butter knife. It works completely fine. You're just going to be taking your little holly, and I just run the back of the knife that's not sharp, just a little, almost like a little vein. Can't really see it as much there just with the light, but it just adds a little extra layer of dimension in there. It just makes the leaf look a little bit more realistic, okay? So again, when I have them on the table at this point, I just score them with the back of the knife, the blunt part of the knife. And again, that will just give a nice little holly vein like that. So I have my tray here. So I'm just going to be popping all of this onto the tray. And again, as I said, don't worry if your little holly leaves have icing sugar on them. You can just get a pastry brush at this point and brush off the excess icing sugar that you have there. So I'm going to finish this off here. I'm just going to cut, you don't need a huge amount of fondant. I would say that your blocks generally come in about 250 grams. So 150 grams is more than enough. Again, it all just depends on how big you want to make your wreath, or how much holly you want to put as a decoration. And you're always better to have just a little bit more. So that is the holly cut out. And of course then you're left with this, all the trimmings. Do not throw them out. Just literally squeeze them back together, and then you have a lovely ball of icing. So you just set that to one side. And next, again, to the back of my knife here, I'm just going to score the little leaves just to give them a nice design, and pop those then onto the tray. That's them ready to go. So again, very easy, very simple. Again, I would say now is probably the time, if you're going to a bake shop, to try and get your hands on these little holly cutters, because I find around this time of year they do sell out quite fast. So that's the holly all cut out. There's enough there to definitely do a nice little wreath on top of the cake. Now, another little thing I just want to show you here is just I'm going to grab some more fondant, and I want to show you how to add a little bit of texture to the leaves. So I have some fondant here. So you're just going to take some of the fondant and just roll that like a long little sausage like that, okay? So I'm going to bring my tray forward like so. So you're just going to take that, put that onto your tray, and just press very gently. You don't want it to stick, but you just want to rest some of the leaves over that little log that you've created, because that's going to curl and give a 3D element to your holly leaves. So when you start to decorate your cake, that they're not all just sitting flat, that some of them have little curves, have a little bit of definition, so it kind of pops. So you can see from there what I've done. Of course not, there's a lip on that tray, so I'll pull it back a little bit. So as you can see there, I have just put a few of the leaves like so, sitting on top of that little roll that I've just created. And again, as I said, when we go to decorate the cake, when you have some of the holly leaves that kind of have a little bit of 3D life to them, it just adds a little bit more life to your cake as well, okay? So that is that taken care of. Next up is the bow, which is again very simple to make, but again I'm just going to show you how you can do this in advance. I'm just going to grab my blue fondant, which I have ready here. I'm just going to set that now to one side, and I'm just going to take the icing here on the table. Just give this blue one a little knead. Again guys, any questions at all, don't be afraid to fire them at me. I'll try my best to answer them. So again, icing sugar on the table, and I'm just going to roll out the blue here. Again, don't be too worried if there's icing sugar, stuff like that on top of your icing. We can brush that off later on, okay? Now, I'm doing blue because it's Jen's colours, but if you want to put a red ribbon, if you want to put a yellow ribbon, do whatever colour that you want at this point here. It's just really the technique that we're looking at, okay? So now, at this point here, I have the little piece of blue icing, which is sticking to the table. So I'm going to throw a little bit more icing just down here to stop it from sticking. Do you know what I'm going to do, because that has creased a little bit? I'm just going to give that a little knead. And again, onto the table. So again, dust that with icing sugar. You're just going to roll that out. Again, keep turning it just like you would if you were making pastry. It just stops it from sticking onto your table, like so. Again, guys, any questions, fire them in my way here. So that is the little piece of blue fondant rolled out. So now I'm going to grab my secret weapon, which is down here, which is kitchen paper, okay? Because we're going to be making a ribbon, so we need those little curls of the ribbon to hold their shape. So we need a little bit of help, which is completely fine. And we're going to be using just kitchen paper, okay? So just taking a sheet and you're just going to be folding it until you get a nice little piece like so. And just give that a squeeze. And we're going to be wrapping the fondant around this. And again, that just helps give you the shape that you're looking for. So this one here, and again, just going to roll this now just to create a little piece like that. Give it a squeeze. So now we have two little pieces of kitchen paper rolled up, and this is what we're going to use then to kind of help the fondant hold its shape until it firms up, okay? So I'm just going to grab a knife over here and I'm just going to cut the fondant. So I've got a larger knife here. So you're just pressing down gently and you're cutting out 2 rectangles. Okay, so this is extra. We'll make the extra little bit of ribbon from that. So again, just like so. So we have created, as you can see here now when I lift them up, just created 2 pieces of strips of the blue fondant, okay? 2 rectangles. So very simply, just dusting the back of it to ensure that there's enough icing sugar so it's going to stick. And you're literally going to take it and put it, drape it over, you can see there, the little tissue that we've created. So this is going to be 1/2 of the bow. So at this point here, this is going to be 1/2 and we're going to create the other half and those 2 pieces will come together. You just want to pinch that like so. So it kind of creates that little design, okay? So that is 1, and this will all come together. And so again, you're taking your second strip, you're taking your little piece of kitchen paper like so, you're just wrapping that around, just drapes on it, and you're just going to pinch that closed, as you can see it there. And then you just want to bring this in to create that bow detail, like so. And that's the 2 pieces of the bow made. So as you can see, that then will stick together. That's going to be the center piece of the bow. Okay, so now that we've got these 2 done, I'm just going to set this to one side. And then we're going to jump on the little strands or the little bits of ribbon that fall off your bow. So again, I am just going to bring my tray forward here and I'm going to pop, maybe I'll do it here so you can see it a bit better. So I'm going to take the 2 pieces that I've made, the 2 ends of the bow here, and I'm just going to pop those on the tray and I'm going to pinch the centers together. So here, just to join them. See, I don't know how far I can tip this up without tipping it all off. So you can see it there. So I'm just going to grab another little bit of fondant here. And then we're going to need that extra little bit. So that's the ribbon pinched together in the center. So I'm next just going to grab another little bit of fondant. Going to roll that out. Again, icing sugar down so it doesn't stick to your table. And just with your rolling pin, you're just going to roll again another rectangle. You don't need a huge amount of fondant for this. Remember, it is just decoration, okay? So again, we're just going to cut 2 strips. 1. And these are going to be a lot thinner. Just like so. And these are going to be the 2 strands that are going to be hanging down from the ribbon, okay? At this point here, we have one of these strands. We just want to cut off a corner from there to there. So I'm just going to do that now. So I'll just show you. So what we've done there is we've just cut off the corner, which was this one here. So we've cut that off, and it just means that these then, that will stick onto there and at an angle. So again, I'm just going to push this down, and so I'll turn that around, just like so. you've got that little ribbon effect here, and then you just want to cut a little V into the ends of the ribbon to give it that little design. Again, you can take your time with this, it is therapeutic. That is your end pieces, or your 2 pieces of ribbon, just there, as you can see. Again, don't worry about the white icing that's there, we will brush that away later on. So at this point, we're just going to pop this onto our tray. We're just going to get one final piece of fondant. This is going to sit on top. I will move the camera so you can see a little bit better. So as you can see there, you see it there? That is what we're looking for ribbon wise. You've got the nice 2 little curls and you've got the bow in the middle. And again, that's what the paper is there for, just to kind of hold that shape. So again, we're taking a very small little piece and we're just going to cover up that little tiny bit in the middle of the bow that looks a little bit messy because we've kind of crimped those together. So you're just taking that and you're just going to cover this with a little piece of fondant just in the center. And again, that just tidies it up. So you can see there, that is our ribbon done. So we're just going to put this to one side now and forget about it because that's the decoration done. So I'm just going to grab a pastry brush, if I have one here. And I'm just going to brush, again, just to show you that that all comes off. So again, just brush, that brush is a little bit wet. You can brush off your icing and that will leave them nice. So basically that's all the elements to decorate the top of the cake. So we're going to have the holly wreath, we're going to have the bow that sits on the top, and then just at the last minute we're just going to roll a couple of tiny little pieces of red fondant for the berries and we're going to dot those through. You don't need to do those at this point, you can do that at the last minute just when you're decorating the cake. So yes, in a recap, what we've done there, we've taken the lovely pack of, do I have the packaging here, of the Gem Christmas cake mix. So that's what you're looking for there. The full bag of this here is enough for the full recipe that we're making. I believe it's 970 grams of mix in there. And again, as I said earlier, you can soak that with alcohol, with orange juice, with fruit juice, with an Earl Grey tea is lovely, a jasmine tea. So that's soaking now with a little bit of lemon and some spice. I'm just going to let that soak now, and then tomorrow I'll give it a stir, and then I can give it another stir. And don't be afraid to taste. If all that liquid, the alcohol or tea or whatever you've used, has soaked up into the fruit and all that liquid is gone, you can add a bit more if you want. You've got time. And we're not going to be baking the cake until I think it's the week after next. So we've got oceans of time. If you're doing this again tomorrow or the next day or over the weekend, again, just check your fruit. If you find that it's a tiny little bit dry, you can add more of whatever soaking liquid you've used in there just to rehydrate it, okay? And then just to recap here, just made the green fondant holly leaves, and then we've just draped some of them over a piece of fondant to give them a 3D effect. And then we've created that blue bow that's just going to sit at the very top end of the cake. And again, the red holly berries that we're going to be using, and we'll roll those at the last minute and just put those on as well, okay? So guys, I think we've covered quite a bit tonight. Tonight was the easy night. It was just doing little decorations and soaking the fruit. The baking of the cake and covering it is a little bit more technical, so that is something just to be aware of. But again, once we do this in stages, it will just leave our life so much easier. So yeah, any questions at all there coming in? Just so you're all aware that Gem is running a super exciting competition. It will be announced, I believe, in 2 days' time. So keep an eye on all the Gem social media channels here on Instagram, or if you're over on Facebook as well, and on the new website. There's tons of my delicious recipes over there too if you fancy trying some of them out. But they are running a super exciting competition. I believe it is on Friday, so just to keep an eye out for that, especially coming up to the weekend. Definitely don't want to miss it. But okay guys, I think that's all. I don't see any questions coming in, so I think that we are all good there. Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who joined in tonight. I hope that you're all curled up relaxing for the evening, and yeah, again, I'm going to post this again, so any questions that were asked may disappear. So if you're watching this back on playback, feel free to ask as many questions as you want about anything that I've done, and I'll see you for the second series, where we'll be taking that lovely fruit and turning it into a beautiful cake that we'll be baking, and that's on the second series. Okay guys, thank you again so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will be talking to you soon. Okay, take care.